great, Rose. How are you? It's great to see you.
You welcome everybody to another episode of Casting Notes from Rose and Kim.
Hi,
And
everybody.
and what have you been doing this week?
Just, working. Got a couple of reality projects this week, which has been fun. I like being able to switch it up. I love scripted. I love working with actors, but I like to switch it up and have reality too.
You and I have that in common. That because there's a whole whether or not you do reality as a casting director and as talent. But interestingly enough, I have a special guest for you. And he is coming on soon, but his name is Stuart Krasnow. He's been an executive producer for so many reality shows that you know and love. Most recently, he's been reprising his role as the executive producer of The Weakest Link, and it happens to be the #1 show of the fall season. So, anyway, Stuart, are you there? Are you coming in?
I am.
Oh my God!
Hey, hi Rose. Hi Kim. How are you?
Good.
So
It's
Great to see you.
Thanks for joining
Good
us.
to see you too. Of course.
So fun. So here we are. So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about casting for unscripted reality TV, and let's tell the people a little bit about what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think of course, reality shows just like any other shows, and we like to say unscripted not because we're pretentious, but only because there's so many categories to unscripted television. So basically, anything that doesn't have a script. So that could be the Kardashians, or it could be in the case of Weakest Link, it's a game show where people are coming on and playing a game for money. So traditionally, we look for people in different ways for different kinds of projects. So we're trying to put together a cast of like real estate agents for like something like Selling Sunset. They're looking for a real life environment that has really great cast baked into it. They might add a few and recruit people who already have that kind of a specialty. That would be called like an occupational doc. But then if you're doing a show like Weakest Link, we're literally auditioning people who have a basic knowledge of trivia. We do need a certain level of player. They get, and Kim, I'm sure has done this many times, you have to give these quizzes to people, but it's an interview just like this over Zoom. And then, the people are tell about themselves, why they'd be a good contestant, why they'd be a good player. And then they're also given a quiz, a sample quiz of 20 questions on their Zoom to see, so we get a sense of how they play the game. We really want to see a show like that, what their thinking face looks like, how long it takes them to answer a question. Are they any good at answering a question? So.
Interesting, you did that casting over Zoom.
Yeah, almost all of it is done over Zoom. Even I can't imagine, there's very little, of course, right now with COVID, there's nothing is really done in the room anymore. But it's been being, we used to say Skype interviews, but it's really great. And I'll review all the Zooms of the contestants before the show. It's just not, I get to meet them in person that day. But instead of reading these briefs like I used to, I actually look at their casting bits again. So it's just really helpful.
Well, I don't think a lot of people realize also that in the reality world, we've been using Skype and Zoom for decades. That's been the norm for a long time. When I first started in reality, they would put us on a plane and fly us to a city, and we would hit the streets, and we would put people on camera, and we'd have to overnight the tapes and everything for approval and editing and so forth. But
Very true.
I think probably the last time I did that, it's been a good 8 or 9 years since I've gone on the road to cast. This is not just because of the pandemic. It's something we've been doing for a long time, which transitioned really well for us when we started doing scripted. Like those of us who've done reality, like, oh, we know the drill,
We know how.
Yes, we used to do. This is an interesting show to actually talk about because I did the original 19 years ago, and during that time we were in that, like Kim said, more the old school way, and we actually held open auditions. So the local station in Boston would say, hey, do you want to be on this game show and win up to $1 million? Everyone would line up. It was when Millionaire was on as well. So they were very big shows. They were on multiple nights a week in prime time. So people would line up, and you would put groups of 8, you'd play like mini versions of the show and roll tape on that. And that's how you used to pick your contestants. What happened last time around, just like this time around, production came to a halt because of 9/11. and all my casting teams were stuck in different cities. A lot of them in the Northeast. They kind of were freaked out. They rented cars and drove cross country back to California. Some of them drove back to their homes in Ohio or Pennsylvania. So similar time, you're doing this game show again, also in the middle of something where production is shut down. And because game shows can be up and on their feet in the studio, and we can use local people, that casting that you guys do becomes even more important because we can cast locally. Scripted shows, it's very hard to get them to all come to the same place and be safe again. So for us, it really, it really creates opportunities really for these kinds of studio-based shows with local cast. And that's what the first weakest link was local casting because of that.
No, and of course,
no one could fly.
That show sets up well for distance and all that. It happens to be a very good show for the COVID, for sure.
It does. Hopefully for all times, hopefully many years to go. But I think when you do reality, I love real people. I love what they bring. I love every form of, there's house shows, there's, as I said, docu shows, there's contest shows, there's competition shows. Hopefully in development on another, wipeout type show. I love that kind of thing. So, and I have a doc that I've been working and developing on with a couple that I found on TikTok. And I'm the biggest fan of TikTok. I think it's the best tool to get yourself out there right now.
Well, I would like to talk about that for a minute because, since Rose and I, we both cast reality and scripted, like one of the things that I think actors think about is they think, oh, the reality's fun, but how is that going to translate for me as an actor? Is this a bad thing for me? That kind of, and then there are other people who are so determined that like the only way to become famous and get their name out there so they can get acting roles to do something in reality or something like that. So
I would say I love that question. I obviously put on a lot of actors in all kinds of reality shows and all kinds of reality settings. Traditionally, by the way, the game shows, Wheel of Fortune, they're all local LA shows. So for years they've had actors on. We tend to let them say other things that they're doing, so we don't want to seem like it's all a bunch of actors, because then people think the show is scripted or somehow fake. But really, it's really been a great basis for actors to kind of earn their keep. I mean, you can win a lot of money in one day as opposed to waiting a lot of tables. Not that you don't have to do both sometimes.
Well, one of my favorite history stories as far as that goes is John Hamm on The Dating Game.
Right.
I mean, people think, oh, he's a serious. Well, he was on The Dating Game way back when.
I think there were quite a few. I think Tom Selleck was too, and other shows as well. But when shopping for a house, they say location, location, location. I think if you are looking to make it in this business, it's about exposure, exposure, exposure. So expose yourself everywhere you can. I mean, social media has been a great tool for that. Again, I'll argue that TikTok's been a great tool for that. But I also feel that, people can go on and get a lot of audition experience too. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are actors, and I'd say just try for every reality show. You can wait, months and months before you get one audition, and then you're so worried about that audition. How are you going to be to be able to practice being, especially in the settings you're in now? I know that a lot of what you're doing now with scripted programming is done the same way. So get used to talking on a Zoom, being interviewed, making eye contact, how you express yourself, how you see yourself, how you complete sentences. These are great. This is great practice to try out for these shows. And if you happen to get on one, then you can make the decision. We interview, as you go through hundreds, sometimes 1,000 people to find very few. So you're lucky if you get chosen. At least you're on the right path. At least you're making a good impression.
No, that's true. Let's talk about how we build a cast. I think it's so similar, unscripted versus scripted. I think you as executive producers come up with, I need this type, and this type, and then we make that into a reality. But let's discuss that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I used to always call it, when you had to put people in a situation together, which, by the way, Weakest Link is a mini version of it. I always feel like, we're looking for a combination. I always call it the Gilligan's Island theory, basically. You want a little bit of each. I mean, I think the Gilligan's Island model, for anybody who still remembers that show, was very specific in terms of, but it was a smattering of people thrown together who normally would never have met each other otherwise, was the idea. I think obviously today that would be a very diverse group of people. I think diversity is probably the lead and probably the most important thing. I really look back at some of the shows, and especially elimination shows, where we were very careful to just overstack our diversity so that we never had one person being the token of any category, whatever that category might be. Because when you had that, sometimes that person would be eliminated first. It was a voting situation, and it just felt wrong. It didn't feel good, you know? So you always want to have like a diverse cast that's not one of each. So really, it should always be a little bit more than that. But honestly, I love that. I always think you have to pray to the universal TV gods and let things fall where they may. I've had many shows with many casts that somebody who you really felt you couldn't do the show without falls out at the last minute for a personal reason, doesn't pass the background test, doesn't in some cases pass a medical test, and they're all of a sudden you have to imagine it without them, and then you realize, then when you're actually shooting the show, you're like, this is what was supposed to be. This is what was meant to be, is this group of people. One of the things to consider, unlike scripted shows, we do extensive background checks. If people are going to be living in a situation together, it's a level 4 background check. It's pretty much similar to what somebody would get if they were going to get a job at a nuclear plant or a high government level job. My favorite line about this is back in the day when they were kind of harassing us about all the crazy stuff that was happening on reality shows, and people were like, someone pulled a knife in the Big Brother house. They would, interview us about it, and I would say, look, our cast get an MMPI background psychological test, which is a very high level test. Very few people have that unless they're doing a job where they're really overseeing a lot of people. We do an extensive medical test, and then we also would do a background check that includes credit checks, assaults, sexual predators, all kinds of things. And the funny thing is, at that time, George W. Bush was president, and he and Dick Cheney would never have made it onto a reality show that we were doing on any level, because George W. Bush had been arrested 3 times and Dick Cheney had been arrested twice. And when you see more than one arrest, there's no way that person could make it onto a regular reality show. So it's just funny that you can be president of the United States, but still not make it on a reality show, just to give you a level of what has to go in because of the liability. But then when you're in that set, you also should know pretty much every measure has been taken to put you with a group of people who are going to be, there's always someone that slips through, of course, but for the most part, it's a very protected environment.
Oh, without
So
doubt.
it's good to meet a guy on a dating show, I always say, or a girl or a woman, because there's no way you're going to ever get that level of background check and psychological testing on anybody you meet on a dating site.
Yeah, and the casting is so different. I mean, we'll get the book, I always call it, and we have to, it's an hour-long conversation that we're sending to you guys for you to initially think about these people.
Right.
And I mean, it's so different.
Mhm.
You see them for 5 minutes for anything else.
There's, it's also, I want to, just back to what you were saying too about Kim, about the dating game. It's like, I feel that, for actors and who are out there who are thinking about, doing this, I think you used to look back and say somebody like Brad Pitt, like his story that he would tell in a late night talk show was basically, my crazy job was I was a chicken in the corner. Now I think people will say, I was, I started out as one of the Bachelors, or I was on this reality show for a minute. Or we actually, Ellen just had on Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live, and we surprised Colin. Oh my God, I used to work with that group. Sorry, I'm on the other side of the Weakest Link group, not the Ellen group, to be clear. But Jane Lynch came on, the host of Weakest Link, and surprised them to play Weakest Link, and we showed a clip and the Ellen showed a clip of Colin as a college kid on Weakest Link 19 years ago in his Harvard sweatshirt. So to give you an eye, so here's this guy, Colin Jost, he was on Weakest Link as a contestant and lost with his Harvard shirt on, and now he's, who's hotter than him, so I think that all these experiences, if you love this business, if you love to be on, if you love to be out there, is about all the exposure you can get, and it's the same reason why you have your, it's better than your Instagram account, I think, to really be in something and show who you are. You never know who could be watching, who could see it, who could share it. It's a great story to tell, even in a scripted interview. Where I think before it was like a stigma, now it's like, okay, what's the craziest thing you've ever done? Well, I was on this show Wipeout once. You were, it makes you interesting to the people and they know you're an outgoing person who's willing to do things.
So that's a huge thing to put forward to the actors watching is go ahead and do the unscripted shows, that it's worth your time, that it's not a negative on your resume, that it's moving forward, it may be the best thing for your career, which didn't used to be the case, but you're saying it is now. And
Yes.
yeah, and do the TikTok. And
To me,
don't
here's
worry
the thing,
about
TikTok has a great search engine. So because everyone puts like 5 or 6 hashtags underneath. So if you were doing a season now of Top Chef or Hell's Kitchen, Cam, right? And you put chef in or food or cooking in your TikTok search bar, you literally get 100,000 videos of chefs and people cooking things. Some of them are very amateur. Some of them are really good. There's one guy that I found, I loved his TikTok so much. I'm not even interested in cooking shows, but I'm setting up a meeting with him because I just love the way he's an Italian chef. He's 18 years old. He just has this way about him that's so different. I'm like, I know young girls love to watch cooking shows. I'm like, I think this guy just has something, So I think putting yourself out there, especially on TikTok, I think is such a great organic way. You get to really show creative sides of yourself, and you get to show an expertise if that's something you have. I think that's a great way to be noticed because there's no way that you guys are like looking at all that stuff now. And I found this couple on TikTok that they've become almost family to me. They had 400,000 followers when I first met them. And now yesterday Extra interviewed them because they're up to 12 million followers. Wow. And they're probably the #1, known gay couple in social media right now. And they're just going to soar and keep going. So it's like, it's really like they're both actors, by the way. And they met on an audition and they were like, struggling to just get their acting done. And now with that Extra tape, they could probably get a meeting with Ryan Murphy or somebody. So it's like, it's those stepping, like, if you're not putting yourself out there, how is anyone going to find you?
And let's talk about that. Kim, you were mentioning earlier about how to find people.
So often, people will make the mistake of they'll post something, for example, on YouTube or something, but they fail to have any information to click on for us to find you. Like, right. It's great that you're Susie somewhere in the United States who, is a wonderful chef. But if I don't know your last name, I don't know what city, state you're in, I don't have an email address for you, I don't have a phone number, like I have no way to track you down. So if you are using it to promote yourself, make sure that you have also, somehow, some way also posted how people can track you down. And if it's an email address, so you can remain somewhat anonymous, so you don't have, weirdos reaching out to you, that's fine. But make sure you're checking it on a regular basis. Right. Otherwise, because when we're casting like this. Fast. We don't have a month to wait for you to respond to us. When we're sending you an email, we need a response like in the next 24 to 48 hours, or we've already moved on. Right. So you need to make sure that you check that regularly if you're using that to promote yourself.
Right.
I love that advice.
We find this stuff. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I'm a real big proponent of using your own name. If you are, look, you can always have more than one account, right, of anything. You can have, as you said, it can be more than one email account. So just dedicate whatever, you should have something matching on the internet that makes you easy to find professionally if that is a goal of yours. So if you have your real name or a name that can be also cross-referenced and found on the internet. So it's funny because one of this gay couple that I really, have started to develop with, one of them uses his real name and one doesn't. So, but because the one uses his real name and because he was an actor, it let me write to a manager and I was able to go through a manager. If you just DM somebody or try to like message them through TikTok, through Instagram, as if you've got 17,000 followers, you're not really, how many of those, you're not going to get through all those comments usually. So, and that's a pretty small number. So if you're dealing with somebody who has 400,000 followers, you can really, we can look like a lunatic reaching out to them and somebody not legit. So it's important for you guys to give us a way to contact you outside of the platform that you're promoting yourself on.
Right. It's hard for us to show that we're legit on an inbox message. That's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we do need, but we look at all the socials and try and find people for all kinds of things. And that's important for people to know.
Yeah. And I think for me also, maybe the reason I'm sort of more TikTok than Instagram too, is that I think Instagram is a platform where people are putting on their, their best, their perfect self, right?
Yeah.
It's a place where you're trying to look perfect. And I think what I like with TikTok is you're really allowing people to see your more genuine, your more authentic self. And maybe even sometimes being silly or profound or emotional about something, whatever. So for me, I think when I look at that platform, it speaks to the reality head space that I'm normally in of somebody being themselves, because I'm looking for someone who's an entertaining character in life. But there are people who also put very actory stuff up there too, and even show themselves acting out a little quick scene, and they just do something with another acting friend, and they're really do great stuff. I would stay away from, if you are trying to be cast in something scripted or unscripted, I just would be very careful about any controversial content. It's not uncommon for us to reject somebody right away for something that's just a little bit too far right or left, or to if we really love somebody and we find that stuff after the fact, we will ask for a social media cleanup. Because the last thing a network or a cable network or any digital platform wants to invest in, creating something and then have one of the people who are in the show have sort of a strange, Twitter feed show up. It doesn't really help the cause.
So what would you say? No, no political posts, or some, or what kind of barriers would you put on it if you did?
I'd say, of course, be yourself, but I think political posts are fine. I just think extreme anything is bad. Either extreme, either way. It's
and no news. I'm just gonna
nobody wants. I don't. Yes and no. I mean, I think it depends. I think that certainly people like, there's. It used to be we would do these extreme. We'd hire these background companies. If we had somebody who was like the star bachelorette type on a show, for instance. I didn't work on that show, but I had dating shows like that in prime time. If there were even topless photos of her somewhere, she was like a no-go. And the guy's the same thing, not topless, obviously. But I think all that has loosened up. I don't think it matters as much depending what kind of a show it is, and nothing too easily found. For in case if it depends on the network, it depends on the hour of the day. I don't think cable cares as much. I think primetime might care a little bit more. But they might even be okay with it, but ask you to bury it or find a way to not have it, come out, or, whatever. But I mean, sexy photos are fine. Sexy is fine. I think butt stuff is fine. I mean, it's just on a lot of people's Instagram and Facebook at this point. So it's kind of not considered bad. I think it's more artful and less pornographic, if that makes sense. It's okay.
Kim, are you?
Well, I had a situation. I knew a gal, for example, who was in the final running. They wanted her on the show. They'd sent her the contract and everything. They did the background check, ran through her Facebook page, I think it was. And she had a post on there, it was 4 or 5 years prior, that was her and her girlfriend, who was African-American, were at a spa getting a facial mask done. It was that charcoal mask. And they had taken a picture in their charcoal mask. And that was construed as blackface.
Oh no.
So they were eliminated from the show immediately. And she's like, this is it even says spa day, a face mask or whatever. And she's like, take that down. And they're like, doesn't matter. It's out there. We're not doing it. And,
wow.
It was
Wow.
very cut and dry, done. We're not having it. And it was, and it's something that I think most women go, oh yeah, that's that charcoal thing that you're doing, because that was such a thing, not that long ago. Everybody was doing that charcoal mask thing, and so it wasn't like it was a weird or unusual thing but it only takes one person to misconstrue it, and they weren't going to risk it.
Yeah. Closing thoughts from anyone? I don't like to keep our talent too long.
Okay, this is a really easy closing thought for me, because I love this business so much. And I really believe, now that I think a few years ago when I turned one of those flagship years, what do they call it? tentpole year. What is it? When you have a significant birthday, what is that called?
I don't know.
The
I don't
word,
know.
you know, we have
The biggie.
landmark birthday, whatever. And you go back and you see a lot of people you know, and you go back home and you see people you went to high school with and college, and people you know your whole life. And what I realized was how happy I am, how fulfilled I am creatively as a person, in so many ways, that I've been blessed to have this kind of work. And you know, there are people I went to school with who are lawyers and, you know, artists and done other things too that are creative and fun. But this business, there's something about it. Content has only grown. There are more places to go than ever. Don't be a snob. The littlest tiny digital show might give you the biggest movie, or the biggest movie might not even matter anymore. You work on it for 2 years and it's come and gone in a day, and we don't even know if they're going to be shown in movie theaters anymore. So that 5-minute short you're in might be the thing that gets nominated for an Oscar because it's a short. So it's like, just do everything you can possibly can. Don't be a snob. Try everything. Do everything that feels comfortable for you, of course, and just immerse yourself in it, and you will have a really good, happy life.
I love that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for asking.
No,
All right, good luck out there. And I love what you guys are doing. This is exactly what you should be doing. Like my point exactly, be proactive, and there's no reason to sit around. You know, there's plenty we can do. We all have the same technology, and it's a great tool.
It's our COVID project.
I love it. Good.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye. Thank you.